Have you ever stopped to think about the money that time just forgot? Well, today we're going to dig deep into American history to uncover the stories behind these absolutely gigantic banknotes that have completely vanished from circulation. Let's get right into it.
Now, really think about it for a second. For most of us, it's got to be a $100 bill, right? Maybe you got one for a big birthday or you were buying something expensive. It feels like a big deal holding one of those. But, the cash we use every day, that's just a tiny little piece of a much, much bigger story.
So here's our everyday lineup. You've got Washington on the 1, all the way up to good old Ben Franklin on the 100. These are the faces we see all the time, right? They're the real workhorses of the American cash economy. But this is pretty much where the familiar part of our story ends.
Okay, so there's one note that kind of bridges the gap between the money we all know and the money we've completely forgotten. And it's a bill that, honestly, a lot of people think is fake when they get one.
Yep, it's the $2 bill. And the most surprising thing you'll see here is just how common it actually is. Get this. There are 1.7 billion of them out there. With Thomas Jefferson on the front and that incredible Declaration of Independence painting on the back, it's been printed almost nonstop since the Civil War. And yet, good luck finding a cash register that even has a slot for it. It's kind of the most common rare bill we have, and it's our perfect gateway into the truly forgotten currency.
All right, so now that we're past the curiosity of the $2 bill, we get to enter the world of the truly discontinued stuff. I'm talking about the banknotes that were once these huge symbols of financial power, but today, they're basically legends. First up, the $500 bill. I mean, can you even imagine carrying a few of these around in your wallet? The most common version of this bill featured President William McKinley, the 25th president. See, back in an era before digital banking, a note like this was absolutely essential. It wasn't for, buying your groceries. It was for the really big stuff. Bank transfers, real estate deals, things that required moving a lot of value physically.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. While it was last printed way back in 1945 and then officially pulled from circulation in '69, it's still technically legal tender. But you would have to be absolutely crazy to spend one at face value. Today, collectors will pay anywhere from double to 6 times what it's worth just to get their hands on one.
All right, next on our list, we're going to double the stakes. We are moving up to the $1,000 bill.
This bad boy featured Grover Cleveland, our 22nd and 24th president. And here's a fun fact for you. An earlier version actually had Alexander Hamilton on it, but the Treasury swapped him out. Why? Well, probably so people wouldn't get it confused with the $10 bill. Makes sense.
I mean, $1,000 is a lot of money in a single piece of paper. But believe it or not, we're not even close to the top of the mountain. So are you ready to meet the real high rollers?
Okay, now we are entering the territory of banknotes that for their time were worth more than the average American's entire net worth. Seriously, these weren't just money, they were concentrated wealth, the kind of paper that could literally buy a house in a single transaction.
This is it, the $10,000 bill. The largest denomination that was ever printed for public use in the entire United States. Just look at it. Now here is a fantastic piece of trivia. The man on the biggest bill ever released to the public wasn't even a president. It was this guy, Salmon P. Chase. And he was a true political powerhouse. A senator, a governor, chief justice, and maybe most importantly, he was Abraham Lincoln's Secretary of the Treasury. He was the man who basically financed the entire Civil War.
But wait, there was one that was even bigger, the $100,000 bill. And this is where the difference is so critical. See, the $10,000 note was meant for public use, and it's perfectly legal for a collector to own one today if they can find it. But that $100,000 note, with Woodrow Wilson on it, that was never meant for you and me. It was a special kind of money called a gold certificate, used only for transactions between Federal Reserve banks. And that's exactly why it is illegal for any private citizen to own one.
So this all leads to the big question, right? If we had these massive denominations, where did they all go? Why can't you walk into a bank today and ask for a $500 bill?
Well, the story really unfolds in a couple of key dates. The printing for all bills, $500 and up, it stopped for good in 1945. But the official death knell didn't come for another 24 years. It was 1969 when the government formally discontinued them. And the reason they gave was pretty simple, a lack of use.
But, the official reason goes a little deeper than just a lack of use.
The Treasury's main argument today for keeping bills small is all about fighting crime. And the logic is really simple. It's a whole lot harder to smuggle $1 million in 20s than it is to do it in $10,000 bills. Keeping the bills small just makes life way more difficult for money launderers.
So, how did the disappearance of these giants of currency affect the money we actually use today? Well, as it turns out, the absence of these big bills has had a really surprising effect on which notes are the most popular now.
Here's something that most people get wrong. You'd probably think the $1 bill is the most common bill out there, right? It's not. It's not even close. The undisputed king of cash today is the $100 bill. With over 19 billion of them in circulation, Benjamins have become the world's go-to large banknote and a primary way for people to store value all over the globe, not just here in America.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. The $500 bill vanished because of a lack of use and concerns about crime. While today, with credit cards, with digital payments, the use of all cash is slowly declining. So the question isn't just about big bills anymore. It's about whether the fate of the $500 bill is just a preview for all paper money. What do you think?